Picture this. You spend 45 minutes making dinner, and halfway through you realize the rice is gummy, the knife just slipped off a round tomato, and your hands smell like garlic for the third day in a row. What if the fix for every single one of those problems already existed, and the Japanese figured it out decades ago? Today, we are counting down 31 of the most genuinely useful cooking tricks I've ever come across, all grounded in Japanese kitchen wisdom that translates perfectly to your American home kitchen. These are not Pinterest gimmicks. These work. Let us start the countdown with number 31. Score fish skin with shallow diagonal cuts before cooking. Before you pan-fry a salmon fillet or any skin on fish, take a sharp knife and make shallow diagonal cuts through the skin every inch or so, cutting just deep enough to break through the skin without going into the flesh. When fish skin hits a hot pan, it contracts rapidly and causes the fillet to curl up and cook unevenly. Those cuts interrupt that contraction, keeping the fish flat against the pan so the skin crisps evenly across the entire surface. Japanese chefs do this as second nature, and it is one of those tricks that the moment you try it, you will never skip again. Number 30. Rest cooked rice inside the pot with a folded kitchen towel under the lid. Once your rice is done steaming, remove the pot from heat, fold a clean kitchen towel or paper towel several layers thick, and place it between the pot and the lid before covering. Let it rest for 10 minutes. The towel absorbs the excess condensation that would otherwise drip back down onto the rice and make it wet and sticky. This is a standard practice in Japanese households, and the result is rice, where every individual grain is distinct, fluffy, and perfectly cooked rather than wet and clumped at the top layer. Number 29. Use dashi stock as a base layer for almost any savory dish. Dashi is a light Japanese stock made primarily from dried kombu seaweed and bonito flakes, and it is incredibly simple to make. Add a 4-inch piece of kombu to 4 cups of cold water and let it soak for 30 minutes. Bring it slowly to just below a boil. Remove the kombu. Add a large handful of bonito flakes. Let them steep for 3 minutes, then strain. This stock contains natural glutamates and inosinates that create deep umami without heaviness. Use it anywhere you would use chicken broth, in soups, sauces, braises, even mashed potatoes. The Japanese have understood umami as a flavor concept for over a century, and this stock is the cleanest delivery system for it. Number 28. Use a damp paper towel to clean a cast iron or carbon steel pan instead of soap. After cooking with a cast iron or carbon steel pan, while the pan is still slightly warm, wipe it out thoroughly with a damp paper towel. If there is stuck food, add a tiny bit of coarse salt to the towel and use it as a gentle abrasive. Carbon steel pans, called tetsupan in Japanese kitchens, are treated this way to preserve the seasoning layer that makes them naturally non-stick over time. Soap strips away that polymerized oil layer, meaning your pan becomes less functional with every wash. This approach cleans effectively while protecting your investment. Number 27. Use a fine mesh strainer to make silky miso soup. Most Americans who make miso soup at home just drop a spoonful of miso paste directly into hot water and stir. Japanese cooks do it differently. They take the miso paste, put it in a small fine mesh strainer or ladle, and submerge it just slightly into the hot dashi or water. Then they use a spoon or chopstick to press and dissolve the miso through the mesh directly into the liquid. This ensures that the miso disperses completely and evenly, with no lumps and no undissolved chunks sitting at the bottom of the bowl. The result is a soup that is perfectly smooth and consistent in flavor from the first sip to the last. Number 26. Never boil miso soup. This connects directly to the last point but deserves its own entry. Once you have dissolved your miso into your dashi and your soup is beautifully smooth, immediately take it off the heat. Do not let miso soup come to a boil under any circumstances. The Japanese consider this a cardinal cooking sin for very good reason. Miso is a fermented product packed with beneficial enzymes and live cultures. Boiling temperatures destroy all of those beneficial compounds and also drive off the delicate, complex aromatic compounds that give miso its distinctive layered flavor. Boiled miso soup tastes flat and harsh compared to properly made miso soup that was brought just to a gentle simmer and immediately served. Number 25. Blanch vegetables in heavily salted water and then transfer immediately to ice water. The Japanese call this technique shimofuri for certain applications, but the core principle is universal across Japanese cooking. Boil vegetables in water that tastes as salty as mild seawater, roughly 1 tablespoon of salt per quart, and as soon as they hit your desired tenderness, transfer them immediately into a bowl of water filled with ice. The salt raises the boiling point slightly and seasons the vegetables from the inside out rather than just coating the exterior. The ice bath halts cooking instantly, preserving the bright, vivid color by preventing chlorophyll from breaking down further. The result is vegetables that are perfectly cooked, beautifully green, and genuinely seasoned. Number 24. Add a small piece of kombu to dried beans while they cook. The next time you cook dried beans from scratch, whether they are black beans, chickpeas, or any other variety, tuck a small 2-inch square of dried kombu into the pot with your soaking water and keep it there while the beans cook. Kombu contains a specific enzyme called glutaminase, along with natural softening compounds that break down the oligosaccharides in bean skin, which are the compounds responsible for digestive discomfort. The beans cook faster, become creamier in texture, and are significantly easier to digest. Remove the kombu before serving. This is a practice deeply embedded in Japanese Buddhist temple cooking called shojin ryori, and it is one of the most practical bean cooking upgrades you can make. Number 23. Use the back of a spoon pressed against a grater to extract every last drop of citrus zest. When you are grating lemon, lime, or orange zest, and you notice the beautiful fine zest accumulating on the backside of your microplane or box grater, do not waste it. Hold the grater over your bowl and use the back of a spoon to scrape the zest cleanly off the grater surface. You can recover an additional 20 to 30% of the zest this way. Japanese chefs are meticulous about waste reduction, a philosophy called mottainai, which roughly translates to a deep regret over wastefulness. Applying this single scraping habit means you get more flavor out of every citrus fruit you use. Number 22. Toast sesame seeds in a dry pan and crush them slightly before using. Raw sesame seeds have relatively muted flavor. Japanese cooks always toast them first in a dry skillet over medium heat, shaking the pan constantly for 2 to 3 minutes until they turn golden and start making a faint popping sound. Then, while still warm, place them in your palm and rub them gently between both hands, or use a Japanese suribachi mortar to partially crush them. This releases the aromatic oils inside each seed, intensifying the flavor by several magnitudes. Even crushing them very lightly is enough to make a noticeable difference. Sprinkle these on salads, grain bowls, noodles, or vegetables, and notice how much more flavor they contribute compared to straight from the jar seeds. Number 21. Cut round vegetables by slicing a thin, flat base first. Round vegetables like potatoes, onions, beets, and tomatoes have a frustrating tendency to roll around and create dangerous cutting conditions. Japanese knife technique always begins with stabilizing your ingredient. Slice a thin sliver off one side to create a flat surface, then place that flat side down on the cutting board. The vegetable now sits completely still while you make every subsequent cut. This sounds simple, but it is one of those techniques that professional Japanese kitchen training consistently emphasizes because knife safety and precision are treated as equally important. Your cuts will be more uniform, your prep will be faster, and your hands will be safer. Number 20. Use cold water in batches to wash rice until it runs clear. Place your uncooked rice in a bowl, cover with cold water, agitate it with your hand in gentle circular motions for about 20 seconds, then pour off the cloudy water. Repeat 3 to 4 times until the water you pour off is nearly clear. That cloudy water is excess surface starch, and if it stays on the rice during cooking, it creates a thick, starchy paste that makes the grains clump together and turn gummy. The Japanese treat washing rice as its own dedicated step in the cooking process rather than a quick rinse, because properly washed rice absorbs water more evenly and produces a far superior texture. Number 19. Add a splash of sake or dry sherry to ground meat while cooking. When browning ground beef, pork, or turkey in a skillet, add 1 to 2 tablespoons of sake or dry sherry to the pan once the meat is mostly cooked through. The alcohol volatilizes quickly and carries away volatile sulfur compounds and off-odors from the meat, while the subtle sweetness and acidity of the sake tenderizes the meat protein slightly and adds a quiet depth of flavor. This is a deeply ingrained habit in Japanese home cooking because sake is treated as a multi-purpose kitchen ingredient, not just a drink. If you do not have sake, dry sherry is an excellent substitute available in any grocery store. Number 18. Make instant dipping sauce by combining soy sauce, citrus juice, and a small amount of marine. Equal parts soy sauce and fresh citrus juice, either lemon, lime, or yuzu if you can find it, combined with about half the amount of mirin creates a version of ponzu sauce in under 60 seconds. Mirin is a sweet Japanese rice wine available in the Asian section of most major American grocery stores. This sauce works as a dipping sauce for dumplings, a dressing for steamed vegetables, a drizzle over grilled fish or chicken, or even as a steak sauce substitute. Japanese cooking relies heavily on these simple flavor combinations because the balance of salt, acid, and sweetness creates immediate complexity without lengthy preparation. Number 17. Apply the katsu breading sequence in strict order for any breaded item. The reason Japanese fried dishes like tonkatsu come out with that distinctly thick, crunchy coating that stays crispy even after sitting is the specific order and technique of the breading process. First, pat your protein completely dry. Second, season it. Third, dust it in plain flour and shake off all the excess. Fourth, dip it in beaten egg mixed with a small amount of water. Fifth, press it firmly into panko breadcrumbs from both sides. The flour creates a dry surface for the egg to bond to. The egg acts as the glue layer, and the panko provides maximum air gaps that create crunch. Skipping or rushing any step causes the coating to slide off or turn soggy. Number 16. Use a rice paddle or flat spatula to mix rice with a cutting motion rather than stirring. When you are seasoning cooked rice for sushi or just fluffing it after cooking, use a flat wooden rice paddle or a wide flat spatula and cut through the rice in slicing motions rather than stirring in circles. Stirring breaks the rice grains and activates surface starch, turning the texture gummy. Cutting and gently folding the rice while fanning it preserves the integrity of each grain. Japanese sushi chefs spend considerable time learning this single motion because perfectly textured rice is the foundation of sushi, and the same principle applies to any rice you serve at home. Number 15. Microwave garlic for 15 seconds to make peeling effortless. Place an unpeeled garlic clove in the microwave and heat it for exactly 15 seconds on high power. Remove it, and the skin will practically fall off with the gentlest pressure from your fingers. The brief heat creates a tiny amount of steam between the garlic flesh and the skin that separates them completely. This technique is used throughout Japanese restaurants, where mise en place efficiency is taken extremely seriously because speed and precision in prep directly affects service. Compared to the smashing method, which flattens the garlic and makes it harder to slice, this approach keeps the clove whole and intact. Number 14. Add a small pinch of salt to your coffee grounds before brewing. This might seem unrelated to Japanese cooking specifically, but it connects directly to the Japanese concept of flavor balance, called aji no baransu. A tiny pinch of salt, literally just enough to barely coat your fingertip, added to your coffee grounds before brewing suppresses the bitter compounds in coffee without making it taste salty at all. The sodium ions interfere with bitter taste receptors on your tongue. This trick is well documented in food science and happens to align with the Japanese philosophy that every flavor benefits from its counterpart, the same reason a pinch of salt goes into sweet Japanese desserts and a drop of sweetness goes into savory Japanese broth. Number 13. Use a cold pan for starting garlic and olive oil. Instead of heating the pan first and then adding garlic, place your minced or sliced garlic in a cold pan with your olive oil. Then turn the heat to medium-low and let them heat together gradually. Garlic dropped into a hot pan burns almost immediately on the outside before cooking through, creating a bitter, acrid flavor that pervades your entire dish. Starting from cold allows the garlic to cook gently and evenly, turning golden and sweet rather than brown and bitter. Japanese flavor philosophy prioritizes clean, unobtrusive aromatic foundations, which is why this technique naturally aligns with how Japanese cooks approach building flavor in hot dishes. Number 12. Let meat rest after cooking for at least half its cooking time. If a chicken breast took 12 minutes to cook, rest it for at least 6 minutes before slicing. During cooking, heat forces moisture toward the center of meat as the exterior contracts. Cutting immediately releases all that accumulated moisture onto your cutting board rather than redistributing it back through the meat. Resting allows the muscle fibers to relax and reabsorb that moisture evenly. Japanese yakitori grill masters and yakiniku cooks treat this resting period as non-negotiable because perfectly juicy meat is a point of serious culinary pride. Cover the meat loosely with foil during resting to keep it warm. Number 11. Use the water from cooking pasta or potatoes to thicken sauces. Before draining pasta or potatoes, scoop out a full cup of the starchy cooking water. This water is loaded with dissolved starch from the food that was cooked in it, and adding even a few tablespoons to a pan sauce creates a silky emulsion that coats ingredients beautifully, without any flour or cornstarch. This principle runs parallel to the Japanese use of cooking liquids in sauces, where the liquid from simmered vegetables or fish is never thrown away, but is instead reduced and used to build final flavor layers. Nothing gets wasted, and the starchy water does a better thickening job than most shortcuts. Number 10. Add miso paste to butter for an instant compound butter that elevates everything. Combine 1 tablespoon of white miso paste with 4 tablespoons of softened butter and mix thoroughly until completely smooth. Roll it into a log using plastic wrap and refrigerate or freeze. Drop a small slice of this compound butter on top of steamed vegetables, grilled steak, sautéed mushrooms, roasted corn, or fresh bread. The miso adds concentrated umami, saltiness, and a barely there sweetness that transforms plain butter into something extraordinary. White miso, called shiro miso in Japanese, is the mildest variety and integrates seamlessly without announcing itself as a Japanese ingredient, making it universally applicable. Number 9. Use a hot, damp towel to warm plates before serving. Fill a large bowl with very hot water, soak a clean kitchen towel or several paper towels in it, wring them out well, but not completely dry, and lay them over your plates for about 2 minutes before serving. Alternatively, place plates in a low oven at around 170 degrees Fahrenheit for 5 minutes. Japanese kaiseki cuisine, which is the formal multi-course Japanese dining tradition, treats plate temperature as a fundamental component of the eating experience. Warm plates keep food at optimal temperature longer and prevent fats from congealing on the surface of sauces within seconds of plating. It is a small action that makes the eating experience significantly better. Number 8. Make crispy pan-fried dumplings using the steam fry method. Heat a pan with a thin layer of oil over medium-high heat and add your dumplings flat side down. Let them fry for 2 minutes until the bottoms turn golden brown. Then add a 1/4 cup of water to the hot pan and immediately cover with a lid. The steam that erupts cooks the tops and filling through completely within 3 minutes. Remove the lid, let remaining water evaporate, and let the bottoms crisp back up for another minute. Japanese gyoza are always cooked this way because it solves a fundamental problem. You cannot deep fry a delicate dumpling wrapper without overcooking the filling, but pan frying alone does not penetrate to the center. Steam frying solves both problems simultaneously. Number 7. Apply the Japanese method of salting eggplant before cooking. Slice your eggplant to desired thickness, lay the slices out in a single layer, and sprinkle salt generously on both sides. Let them sit for 20 to 30 minutes. You will see droplets of dark liquid appear on the surface. Pat every slice thoroughly dry with paper towels. The salt draws out moisture through osmosis, which accomplishes 2 things. It collapses the spongy air pockets inside the eggplant that would otherwise absorb enormous amounts of oil during cooking, and it removes some of the bitter compounds concentrated in that liquid. Your eggplant will absorb far less oil, cook faster, and have a much cleaner flavor whether you are roasting, grilling, or pan-frying it. Number 6. Use vinegared water to prevent cut apples and potatoes from browning. Mix 1 tablespoon of rice vinegar or regular white vinegar into 2 cups of cold water and submerge your cut apples, potatoes, or other browning-prone produce immediately after cutting. The mild acidity of the water blocks the enzymatic oxidation reaction responsible for browning by denaturing the polyphenol oxidase enzyme. Japanese fruit parlors, which are high-end shops that sell artfully prepared fresh fruit, use acidulated water as standard practice to maintain the pristine appearance of their product. Rice vinegar is preferred because it imparts essentially no flavor while providing all the anti-browning benefit. Number 5. Use the Japanese technique of kinpira for transforming tough root vegetables. Kinpira is a Japanese cooking technique involving a specific sequence. Julienne your vegetable into thin matchsticks. Heat a neutral oil in a pan over medium-high heat. Stir-fry the vegetables briskly for 2 to 3 minutes. Then add soy sauce and mirin in roughly equal parts, about 1 tablespoon each per cup of vegetables, and continue tossing until the liquid is absorbed and glazes the vegetables. Finish with toasted sesame seeds. This technique works beautifully on carrots, burdock root, celery, or even broccoli stems. The high-heat initial fry develops sweetness through caramelization, and the soy mirin glaze adds that characteristic Japanese flavor balance of salty, sweet, and umami. Number 4. Rest soft-boiled eggs in a soy sauce and mirin marinade for Japanese marinated eggs. Make soft-boiled eggs by lowering them gently into boiling water, cooking for exactly 6 minutes and 30 seconds for a jammy yolk, then transferring to ice water for 5 minutes. Peel them carefully. Mix half a cup of soy sauce, half a cup of mirin, and 1 cup of water in a Ziploc bag. Add the peeled eggs and let them marinate in the refrigerator for at least 4 hours and up to 24 hours. These are called ajitsuke tamago in Japanese, and are the deeply flavored mahogany-colored eggs found atop ramen bowls. The soy and mirin penetrate the egg white and lightly season the edge of the yolk, creating a savory, slightly sweet flavor throughout. Use them on noodles, rice bowls, salads, or just eat them on their own. Number 3. Use the Japanese method of tare to build a concentrated flavor base for any sauce. Tare is a concentrated flavor paste or sauce used in Japanese cooking as a foundational seasoning that you then dilute or modify for specific dishes. Make a simple shoyu tare by combining half a cup of soy sauce, a quarter cup of mirin, a quarter cup of sake, and 2 tablespoons of sugar in a small saucepan. Simmer on low heat for 10 minutes until slightly thickened, cool completely and store in the refrigerator. Add a spoonful to broth for instant ramen seasoning, brush it on grilled meats, use it as a stir-fry sauce base, or thin it with citrus for a dressing. Making tare in advance means flavor building goes from a 20-ingredient process to a single jar in your fridge. Number 2. Use the Japanese technique of shio-koji to tenderize and season proteins. Shio-koji is a mixture of salt and koji, which is rice that has been inoculated with the Aspergillus oryzae mold and then dried. You can find it in Japanese grocery stores or online specialty retailers, and it is increasingly available in well-stocked American Asian supermarkets. Rub shio-koji liberally over chicken thighs, pork chops, salmon fillets, or beef, and let them marinate in the refrigerator for 4 to 12 hours, then simply pat off the excess and cook as normal without adding any additional seasoning. The enzymes in the koji break down surface proteins, tenderizing the meat dramatically while the salt draws those broken down amino acids back into the flesh, essentially self-basting the protein with umami. The result is the most tender, deeply flavored, and complexly seasoned version of whatever protein you use that you have ever produced at home. Number 1. Apply the Japanese principle of umami stacking to deepen every dish you make. Umami stacking means deliberately layering multiple different sources of glutamate and nucleotide compounds in a single dish to create a flavor synergy that is exponentially greater than any single ingredient alone. The Japanese were the first culture to formally identify and name umami as a distinct fifth taste in 1908, and their entire culinary system is built around understanding how umami sources interact. Here's how to apply it practically. When you're making a tomato-based pasta sauce, add a small piece of kombu to the simmering sauce. When you're making a stir-fry, add a teaspoon of white miso to the sauce. When you're making soup, combine mushrooms with a parmesan rind. Glutamates from tomatoes, mushrooms, parmesan, kombu, and miso all stack multiplicatively rather than additively when combined, meaning 2 umami sources together create 10 times the perceived depth rather than just double. This is the single most powerful flavor principle the Japanese have contributed to world cooking, and you can use it starting with your very next meal. These 31 tricks represent just a fraction of what Japanese culinary wisdom can offer your everyday American kitchen, from the biggest flavor transformations all the way down to the smallest prep habits. Start with just 2 or 3 that fit what you cook most often, and watch how quickly your results change.